The Detroit Lions currently hold the second seed in the NFL and the second seed in the NFC, and we have the number one seed in our sights. And as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title of this video, the lack of a pass rush, the lack of sacks, is that going to matter when it counts? When the playoffs come around and it counts, if it comes down to the Lions winning a Super Bowl, right? Because I'm talking about Super Bowl. We're in that conversation. Will the lack of addressing a pass rush by Brad Holmes cost the Detroit Lions the Super Bowl, right? So what we're going to do here is you're going to have to bear with me. This video is probably going to be 10 minutes plus, all right, depending on how fast I can get through this. I didn't want to write this stuff down because I wanted to go over it in real time. What we're going to do, we are going to go back to the 2019 season. And the reason I picked the 2019 season is because we all remember that the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a mediocre defense at best, but when it came to overall defense, right? But they wind up winning the Super Bowl. They've been to 5 straight AFC championship games. They have 3 Super Bowl appearances and 2 Super Bowl wins since the 2019 season, right? So, and their defense has never been their strong suit. But when it comes to sacks, specifically the pass rush, sacks, right? Does that matter? Will that matter? Now, to put it out there, that's not because we don't get sacks doesn't mean we can't win the Super Bowl, but is it going to make things more difficult? In my opinion, it's going to be yes. Now, I've looked at 1 year or two, so I don't know what I'm about to look at, but I wanted to this video was going to go in a different direction. And then I was like, you know what? Let's talk about sacks. And the reason I brought this up is because there is no one left with Jason Pierre-Paul going to the New Orleans Saints. There is no one left to help with edge rusher help. So James Houston and the people that we have on our team is it. We could go try to get Melvin Ingram. He's the same age as JPP, probably the same production. He is the only person available that I would even attempt to look at right now, unless somebody got waived or cut, right? So we are stuck with what we have. And I believe it was a mistake not to address the pass rush during the free agent deadline. So that's why Brad Holmes is on this thumbnail, is because has his lack of addressing a pass rush outside of, I guess you can say, James Houston. And I'm talking about edge rushers. I'm not talking about defensive tackles, because we have an overabundance of those guys on our team. Are they any good? We have yet to see. Broderick Martin, the jury is still out, right? But I'm specifically talking about edge rushers, right? So, but overall, we'll just use the sacks for this video. And you can look at it as, you can add a DT if you want. We didn't go get anybody, right? We did not bring anybody in free agency on the defensive line outside of the guys that we had. We drafted a 3rd round project, and Aiden Hutchinson, Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike. I mean, we got a lot of projects on our team. The only one that wasn't, in my opinion, was Aiden Hutchinson, right? Okay, so let's get in. We're going to look at the 2019 regular season. We're going to compare it to the postseason, and then we're going to look and see how many of those teams wound up in the Super Bowl and how many won. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with the 2019 regular season. Make sure I'm on, and here we go. There's a glare on one of my screens, so you have to bear with me a little bit. All right, so the 2 teams that wound up in the Super Bowl, this is the regular season. The San Francisco 49ers were 6th in sacks for the 2019 regular season. Then you have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The Kansas City Chiefs were 11th with 45 and 48 respectively. Now, let's go to the postseason for those 2 teams. What do you know here? The 2 teams that wound up in the Super Bowl in the 2019 season in the postseason had 13 sacks and 9. Now, the team that won it obviously had 9. So, but you're talking about 9 sacks on their Super Bowl run. Now, let's go back, and we're simply going to change the year here. Let's go to the regular season of the 2020 regular season. As soon as this thing updates here, that should be 2020. Okay, so the 2 teams that wound up in the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 48, and they would be number 5. And then we have the Kansas City Chiefs again. So you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. They were ranked 19th. Now, mind you, this is a 16-game season. So you have 19 and you have 5th, right, during the regular season. Now let's go and see for the where's it at? Postseason 2020 postseason. Let's see how many of those teams wound up in the Super Bowl. All right. So the Kansas City Chiefs were in the Super Bowl with the we got to go down to sacks here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm 2 for 2 right now, but the winner both times had less sacks. Now, do we have the Kansas City Chiefs talent on our team? We might. So right now, the two teams from 19 and 20 that wound up in the Super Bowl wound up having, and I'm sorry, nope, the Kansas City Chiefs lost the Super Bowl in 2020. So right now you have the Chiefs, the common denominator seems to be sacks, okay? So Kansas City had considerably less in 2019, but they still won it. But do we have enough to overcome our lack of getting to the quarterback? Okay, now let's cut back and let's go to the 2021 regular season. I know this one all too well. This was my favorite guy in the whole world, the Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. The Stafford and the Rams, they had 50 ranked third. They went up against the, where we at? The Cincinnati Bengals. So you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They have 12. Now let's see what they did in the 2021. I keep going to the wrong thing here. 2021 postseason. And let's see what we have. Well, what do you know? The Los Angeles Rams had 12 sacks. The Cincinnati Bengals had 10. Okay, so you're seeing a pattern here. You're seeing a pattern. The winner had the most sacks. So this is 2 out of the 3 Super Bowls that we've seen of the last 5 years that the sack leaders have won the Super Bowl. Okay, now I'm not saying we can't win it. I'm not saying we won't. I'm saying this is a problem. This could come back and haunt the Detroit Lions. Okay, let's do last year. One more year. The 2022 regular season. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you know? The two teams that had the most sacks wound up in the Super Bowl. Now, let's see what the postseason looked like. Finally go to the right spot. 2022 postseason. And let's go down to sacks. Well. Yet again. So the last 4 years, 4 out of the 5 last years, the sack leader in the postseason has won the Super Bowl. Now, let me show you where your Detroit Lions are. And since you like to say, oh, the defense is fine. We have a pass rush. Let Brad Holmes cook, right? Okay, cool. I'm with that. But now let's see where your Detroit Lions are at right now. Now, again, this doesn't mean that they can't win it, but it's going to be difficult for them to do. All right, let's take a look. Where do the Detroit Lions rank for the sack as far as sacks for the 2023 NFL season? I've already done the math. They're all the way down here with 21. They've gone 2 games with no sacks. They are number 22 or 23 in the entire league. Let's see who the number 2 is. Number 1 and 2, the Buffalo Bills. They're not even going to make the playoffs. So you have the Baltimore Ravens. So according to right now, if we take out the record, right now the Super Bowl matchup would be the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles, with the possibility of the Kansas City Chiefs and potentially us, right? So for the longest, I have been screaming about a pass rush. Pass rush wins championships. It wins you games. Now, I could be off a little bit. We got Johnny Correctos in the comment section. You guys hang off every word I say, and I appreciate that. That means you're listening to the content, and I'm holding your attention. So I could be off a little bit. My emotions are catching up with me at this point. But from what I looked at, the Kansas City Chiefs, it looks like not only do the teams, most of the time, the team that has the most sacks in the last 4 seasons has won the Super Bowl 3 out of 4 times. Now, I could be wrong, but my point is, when it comes down to when it matters, the big game, you have to get to the quarterback. I don't just make this stuff up. I don't do this I do it because I enjoy it, but I also have a little bit of knowledge of what I'm talking about. So can the Detroit Lions overcome this? Yes. Is it impossible? No. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. If there's any team in the league that can do it, is the Detroit Lions. But we have to admit that Brad Holmes, while he might be goated in a lot, he has failed the Detroit Lions when it comes to addressing the pass rush, and he has no choice but to do it this offseason. There are going to be some big name free agents that we're going to talk about. And I'm sure you draft experts who already draft watching, you got your eyes on a DT or a DE that you want to come to this team. You have fun doing that. It has to be done this season. 2024 is going to be a year that Brad Holmes must address the defensive line. You have neglected it for far too long with quality individuals who can get to the quarterback. Now, would I rather be wrong and us win the Super Bowl? 100%. 100%. But numbers don't lie. And statistically, the Lions are going to wind up in the divisional round or the wild card round. Stranger things have happened. But why make it so difficult, Brad, when you could have done something at the trade deadline at the very least? So I don't want to hear it next year when Danielle Hunter, Brian Burns, there will be quality free agents that we will be able to get a hold of due to the fact that we have money this time. No, I'm not. I have been talking about a pass rush for 5 years and we still don't have one. So excuse the emotion, excuse my tone of voice, but I'm irritated because I didn't even know this. I didn't even know this until right now when I just looked at it. Brad Holmes has failed this team. And I don't want to hear about, well, this wasn't our year. Forget all that. Forget all that. You had an opportunity through the draft and other means, and you chose not to make it happen. Chase Young, you know what I heard? I'll wrap the video up. You know what I heard Bucky Brooks say? He said all that stuff from NFL Network. He said all that stuff that were said about Chase Young after the trade deadline. He never experienced that. I'm just saying, would Chase Young have made the difference? Maybe not. A difference? Absolutely. Gave us a chance? Yes. And with the way that we've been getting to the quarterback, a Super Bowl is unlikely. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This video was one of my longest, but it was a lot to cover. All right. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.